Hey there! I'm from Wisconsin Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show. To you, my YouTube buddies, what's going on? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it after the show. But right now, let's just get into the show. I want to talk to you about Medusa's Magic and Gaia Mania. These are the veg and bloom parts of the line. If you look down, if you go to the basic, like 3-4 part kind of small line of Nectar for the Gods, those are those. And we had a good question on the viewer comments. Why don't I use the veg and veg in the bloom and bloom instead of using both of them all the way through and then just varying the amounts? And it's a good question, especially if you come from a synthetic type place where you're like, there's a veg and there's a bloom. But that's not how Scott sees it and not how we feel that works. And so, well, watch the clip. I'll talk to you after. So, a lot of things, like a lot of growth systems, it's you use this one in veg and this one in bloom, whereas we got two and use maybe a little more of this one, a little less of this one, then kind of switch them over.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because we're still not big believers in the NPK system. I mean, it's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's all. That's my recipe. That's my menu.
Yeah.
A lot of people can think that, when we go into flowering, the flower is just flour, and it only needs phosphorus to be a flower, and it's still all cellulose, it's still cell tissue, it's still leaf mass, it's still organic matter, it's still plant matter. It still needs those trace amounts of nitrogen to form those cells and stay at certain health for photosynthesis to occur. So we keep nitrogen in, and if you see, our nitrogen is what, 2?
Yeah.
So our Medusa's 2 is all nitrogen measured by proteins, not by nitrates. So you're not getting high energy nitrogen nitrate pounding this plant, elongating it, stretching it, and keeping it super green.
Sure.
It's just the proteins that are in here that are keeping the foliage to be developed. Flowers, majority of, it's foliage just smashed together with calyxes. And so if you take the nitrogen piece out, then you end up more with like a cookies looking flower where it's just calyxes and no mass and girth. And so that's why we keep it in. We don't believe that the plant's just like, well, third week in flowering, don't want nitrogen. All right, shut down the nitrogen uptake. No, they still need it. It's part of the big picture. The beauty is that we're still feeding the soil. We're entering it into the soil. If the plant doesn't really want to access that because they don't want that, they're not going to bring that up because it's just a protein that the microbes can break down, and then the microbes breaking down those proteins just convert them into another form of amino acid or another form of an element, and the plant can still reabsorb that as a different element. So the only time I really would like to take Medusa and maybe Demeter's, which helps the uptake of nitrogen, and maybe Athena's, which is a nitrogen protein for amino acids, is if I'm in week 4 or 5, my plants are so green and they just won't even begin to lighten up. And I just want to cut nitrogen out completely. Those 3 I just remove from the program, and I up my Tritons, up my Circes, up my Herc, and they're still getting the full recipe. They're just not getting into the proteins of nitrogen.
So the Gaia and Medusa are largely similar,
just balanced differently in volumes and a few different ingredients in both. But
would you say that NPK is kind of like eating only steak, potatoes, and broccoli your whole life, and not having a richer diet of different things? It's kind of
exactly that. It's literally a steak. It's literally broccoli, and it's literally an apple. That's it. So those are your 3 things you can eat.
Yeah.
Morning, noon, and night.
That's one of the beauties of Nectar is it gives you, we always preach that you don't have to use all these products, but all of these products are tools for you as a gardener in your tool belt to use. And there are strains that people have noticed, like the cookie strains that we've advocated, reducing those products like Athena's, potentially Medusa, if you're seeing that green hold on longer into the later stages of growth. Yep. So, again, a lot of people are sometimes overwhelmed with the amount of products, but again, you can kind of tailor. And what's so unique about the product line is that you can tailor the recipe that you build for the strains you're working with as you continue to work with them over time.
For those that are paying attention, that's what they love. Like other people that are like, it's too much for a commercial grow because I got to use all 15 parts. You must have the one genetic that really thrives on all 15 parts, because most guys won't. Pig is down to like 12 products of ours that are just his Fen2s, and then his one personal grow, he has a couple more of the other things in there. But it boils down to your genetics, your plants, your outcome, your taste buds, and your market. And if all of those things align, find the right products for your plants. I like Medusa and Gaia because they're the GH 1, 2, 3 in the sense of 3 of this, 2 of this, 1 of this round, 1 of this, 2 of this, 3 of this round, 1, 3, 2. I mean, they just it's all the same measurement. They just change the variant.
So someone from sub-Saharan Africa is probably not great at metabolizing milk, but someone from Norway probably a little better at it. But they could both probably live on it if they actually have to. One of them would just be real backed up.
Acclimate.
Yeah.
Eventually, they'll acclimate.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what that's kind of the same kind of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. No, kick the NPK mentality to the curb, because you got to realize that NPK nutrition came from the biggest people in the industry, Monsanto and Scott's Miracle-Gro. So therefore, that's science and that's gospel. Well, we can look at our plants, we can look at our flowers, and we can smoke to smoke to smoke. I don't want science, and I don't want what's normal anymore, because that tastes like hay and field straw set on fire with gas. I want gas. I want the diesel that comes out of some of these genetics. I want that blueberry. I don't get that by just doing NPK nutrition.
Well, I think a lot of it also, too, is it's a lot easier to scrape salt out of Utah than bird poo out of the Philippines. And so they made a way to make this stuff work.
Well, and more importantly, what do we do with all the freaking byproducts of crude oil?
Yeah.
Well, we burn it in diesels, we do this and that. Hey, shit, we'll make fertilizer with it.
Make fertilizer out of it.
So it's just, most fertilizers are this step below or above plastics.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you going to do with that now that you're not using it? Yeah. We'll make plastic trays.
Well, if you're trying to feed wheat to 7 billion people, is a little different than if you're trying to make some fine crop for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, there's a reason for scientific, field
This
farming.
happened for reasons.
Yeah, not everybody can eat organic.
And they're in your wallet. That's why most of them.
Yeah, well, and I guarantee you McDonald's isn't using a local farm.
Okay, what do you think of that? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.